Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be doing my Week 10 recap and lineup review, recapping the Week 10 slate and talking about some of my lineups on DraftKings. I played 20 in the 20 max contest, and then I played 150 in some of the lower stakes contests. So we'll go over mostly my 20 max lineups, talk about my exposures, the guys I played at each position, the ones I had, or the guys I had the most exposure to. Then we'll go over my 10 lineups that I played on Yahoo for those of you interested in that site. If you don't have a Yahoo account, if you do want to sign up, my link is down in the description, my referral link. I have had people ask me, how do I sign up? If you sign up using my link, it will benefit both of us. Make sure you do that. Would really appreciate it. Definitely a great site. I believe they have 10 entry cap on every contest, so people can't put in 150 lineups on Yahoo. You can only put in 10 lineups. You can't use CSV either. You have to hand build every lineup, so that keeps kind of the pros away. There's still some pros that play on Yahoo, but having a 10 entry limit on every contest is definitely beneficial for everybody. Recommend you check their site out if you do want to. And then at the end of the video, we will quickly go over the Monday Night Football slate, the showdown slate between the 49ers and the Giants. But let's go ahead and get started on the recap. So at each position, we'll go through talk about the guys I had the most exposure to, starting off with quarterback. I spread out my ownership mostly this week. I think my highest exposed guy was Mahomes at 30%. It was mostly a lot of just like guys at 20%-ish, and then I had some guys in a few lineups at like 2 or 3%. Mahomes, though, was my highest exposed quarterbacks. Then I had I think Rodgers was second, then Rivers, then Goff. Those were mostly the guys I stuck to. Had a little bit of Drew Brees, had some Andy Dalton. I think I had some Tom Brady as well. But it was like mostly Rodgers, Mahomes. Just with all the value I liked, it was pretty easy to fit in the quarterbacks that I wanted. So wound up with a lot of Mahomes at running back. Tried to go cheap in a few spots, but also had a lot of studs at this position as well. Aaron Jones, Dion Lewis, and Duke Johnson were kind of the three guys I went to for a cheap running back. I had a little bit of Adrian Peterson as well. Adrian Peterson was definitely a guy that underperformed. I was pretty high on him and just didn't have that great of a week. But Aaron Jones was a guy that did really well for me. Wound up getting on him later in the week. He put up 35 DraftKings points at 5K, was a really good play. Dion Lewis, another guy I got on late in the week. Didn't really have a great game, but he still got the workload. Dion Lewis got 22 touches last game. Just wasn't very efficient, just 8.8 DK points. Did pretty much have his touchdowns vultured by Derrick Henry. Henry did get 2 touchdowns in that game, which was pretty annoying. But still, the volume was there for Dion Lewis. I liked him at running back. And then where I could pay up, I wound up getting a lot of Gurley, a lot of Melvin Gordon. Didn't get a ton of Kareem Hunt or like Kamara. It was mostly Gordon and Gurley I stuck to at the top of the position if I could pay up. A receiver, tried to go cheap here as well. Wound up getting a lot of Corey Davis at the end of the week. He was projecting really well. He wound up being one of my highest exposed receivers along with MVS. I wound up getting on MVS as well later on in the week. When we got the news that Randall Cobb was going to be out, I thought MVS became a pretty decent option. So I got him in pretty decent amount of lineups. Same with Corey Davis. Corey Davis just getting massive volume. He's pretty much the number one receiver for the Titans, the number one pass-catching option. He got 10 targets against the Patriots. Really good game, 28 DraftKings points. Corey Davis, a play that did work out for me. MVS wasn't great, just 10 DraftKings points from him, but thought he was going to get the volume, and I'm pretty sure he did. I think he got like 7 or 8 targets at 10K, or at 5K. Got 10 DraftKings points. Let's see how many targets he got. Yeah, he got 7 targets, 6 catches, 44 yards. The targets were there. I thought with Xavier Howard on Devontae Adams, that was going to open up a few targets for MVS. Targets were there. Just didn't get the touchdowns, I guess. But Corey Davis and MVS were kind of the cheap receivers I went to. Had a little bit of Maurice Harris, had a little bit of Josh Doxson. In the mid-range, I played a decent amount of Josh Gordon from the Patriots side. I did like that game as like a potential shootout. I thought the Titans could keep it close. They actually wound up winning the game. But I got on Josh Gordon a little bit, got a little bit of Julian Edelman as well. And then I went back to the receivers for the Lions, had some Marvin Jones, had some Kenny Golladay. And then in the lineups where I could pay up, I didn't have a ton of exposure to the expensive receivers. But I did have some Michael Thomas, some Julio. I think there was another expensive receiver. Keenan Allen, I had a little bit of exposure to. But mostly I tried to go cheap at receiver this week. At tight end, this is a position I got crushed. Just didn't have any good tight ends. Travis Kelce was my high exposed tight end and my high scoring tight end. I didn't play any Eric Ebron, which pretty much crushed me. Played 170 lineups, didn't have a single one with Eric Ebron. Pretty annoying. Tight end, I mostly stuck to Kelsey, Njoku, and Jordan Reed. Njoku, a guy I was pretty high on. I thought he was going to have a really good game against the Falcons. I liked the matchup, and he only got one catch for 18 yards. Njoku's been a guy that's burned me a lot this year. Burned me again this week. Kelsey really didn't even do that great. He was expensive. 10 DraftKings points at 7K really isn't good enough. Kelsey had a pretty bad game. Jordan Reed wasn't very good. Had a little bit of C.J. Uzomah. Had a little bit of Jack Doyle. Those guys weren't great. Pretty much just got crushed at tight end. My highest scoring guy was Kelsey with 10 DraftKings points. And that was pretty much it. Jimmy Graham, another tight end that really burned me. Just 2.4 DK points from him. Like I said, got crushed at this position. Just wasn't a good position. Just didn't really do well for me. Then at defense, the Rams were definitely my high exposed defense. I had to cap them. Wound up getting the Rams 40% of my lineups. Usually that's where I cap defense every week is 40%. Then I think I got some of the Chiefs. I got some Bucks with how cheap they were. Always try and go cheap at defense. As you can see, the defenses I use are usually always cheaper. The Chiefs and Rams, though, were the two defenses that really had the most exposure to. But that's really it for my DraftKings lineups, the review. I'll scroll through some of my lineups so you can look at them. It wasn't a terrible week. I think I had like a negative 10% ROI, so it wasn't like crazy bad. I thought I was going to get crushed, but a lot of guys in the late games came through for me. And I was able to recoup some of the losses I thought I was going to have. So it wasn't a terrible week, but definitely not a great one. Hopefully we can do a little bit better next week. But yeah, that's it for the recap on DraftKings. Let's quickly go over these 10 lineups on Yahoo. So I stuck to pretty much the same core the same core I had on DraftKings, I had on Yahoo as well. Played a lot of Mariota over here. He was almost like minimum price. He was $22, I believe. And the min price for quarterbacks is $20. So Mariota, insanely cheap. Played him in a lot of lineups. Stacked him with Corey Davis in some lineups because Corey Davis was also cheap. Had Dion Lewis as well. Melvin Gordon played in a lot. Todd Gurley, where I could fit him in, played in a lot of lineups. Jordan Reed and Njoku were kind of the two tight ends I stuck to over on Yahoo. And those plays did not really work out well. Josh Gordon as well had on a lot of Yahoo lineups. We'll go through these quickly. You can kind of see there's the same guys I stuck to on DraftKings, had on Yahoo as well. Duke Johnson, had a little Julio, Dion Lewis, Corey Davis, Gordon, Njoku. Same guys. Brady, a big disappointment. John Ross was okay, but really not great. Just had 2 catches, but luckily did find the end zone. Had a little bit of John Ross. I know he wasn't going to be insanely popular, but I did want a little bit of exposure to John Ross. I did like the spot for him. Thought the targets were going to be there. But looking at this lineup, Aaron Rodgers with MVS, had Joe Mixon, Dion Lewis, Landry. Landry was a guy that really burned me on Yahoo. He was really, really cheap. Really liked him. Just 3 fantasy points from Jarvis Landry. Didn't see that one coming. Marvin Jones, another guy that disappointed, had a decent amount of exposure to. But Brady, Lewis, Gurley, Jones, MVS, Gordon, Jordan Reed, had Zeke in the Sunday night game. He had a really good game. 33 fantasy points from Zeke, and then Falcons D. In this lineup, had a lineup where I went Mariota, Corey Davis, with Dion Lewis, then Gordon, Landry, had Josh Gordon on the other side of that Tennessee game. Njoku, Todd Gurley. Detroit Lions defense continue to take defenses against the Bears because I don't think Trubisky's very good, and it just continues to not work. Probably going to do it again next week. Don't even know who the Bears play next week, but whatever. Lions D, just 0 points from the Lions D. This lineup had Mariota by himself, or I did have Dion Lewis and Mariota. Then I had Josh Gordon on the other side of that game. Melvin Gordon, Marvin Jones, MVS, Jimmy Graham, Todd Gurley, Buccaneers D. As you can see, when it comes to defense, always try and go cheap. Usually never pay up for defense. This lineup went cheap at defense as well with the Lions D again. Andrew Luck to T.Y. Hilton in this lineup with Duke Johnson, Dion Lewis, Landry, Gordon, Jordan Reed, Todd Gurley. Last 2 lineups we'll go over quickly. Mariota with Corey Davis again. Had some Kamara in this lineup. Got Gurley, Landry, Gordon, Jordan Reed, Aaron Jones, Falcons D. I think this was one of my better lineups. I'm not really sure. And then we'll look at this last one real quickly. Brady to Josh Gordon in this lineup. Then Joe Mixon, Coleman, Julio, Josh Gordon, David Njoku, Zeke, and Buccaneers D. So that's it for my Yahoo lineups. Like I said, if you want to sign up for Yahoo, if you want to maybe play against me, I know you can. I think you can send invites on Yahoo, so you can send me invites if you want to. That's my username right there. That's my username pretty much on all sites, on DraftKings as well, if you guys ever want to play me. But make sure if you do sign up for Yahoo, use my referral code down in the description so it benefits both of us. That's it for my Yahoo lineups. That's it for the DK review. Now we're going to quickly go over the showdown slate for Monday Night Football. Going to do it pretty quickly, just talk about the slate and the guys we want to target. So definitely have studs on this slate we want to pay up for. You got Barkley and Odell Beckham. From the Giants side, the 49ers don't really have a ton of guys we want to spend our salary on, pretty much besides the quarterback and besides George Kittle. Definitely there's plenty of value on this showdown slate. We know Pierre Garçon's going to be out, so Marquise Goodwin and I believe it's, if I can find his name, KENDRICK Bourne is going to be the number 2 receiver behind Marquise Goodwin. Yeah, so at 2K could be a really good value. I do like him as a value play. I think if we're building a lineup for the showdown slate, that's kind of what we'll do. We can definitely pay up at captain if we want to, with how the value is. I think Barkley's a really good captain play. Just the dude's been so good all year. He's going to be a guy I lock and load into showdown lineups. Just the volume's been there all year. He's getting a ton of he's not getting a ton of carries, but getting a ton of work in the passing game, getting receiver-like targets, 10, 12 targets last 3 weeks. Still getting in the mid-teens in carries, so he's getting 20 touches a game. Barkley's the captain for me. I think I'd play Barkley over Odell in captain. But both guys are definitely captain-worthy if you do want to go to them. But I do want to talk about some value. So I think KENDRICK Bourne's a really good value play. He is just 2K. I expect him to be the number 2 receiver behind Marquise Goodwin, now that Pierre Garçon is not going to play in this game. So Bourne should be looking at some decent targets at 2K. Just a really good value. I think we could definitely pay up for quarterback if you want to. I would much rather play Nick Mullens over Eli Manning. Mullens looked pretty good in his debut last week against the Raiders, or 2 weeks ago. Really good game, 16 for 22, 72% completion percentage, 262 yards, 3 touchdowns. Good game from Nick Mullens. I think this is a good spot for him at home against the Giants. I do like plugging him into this lineup. Those are kind of the 3 guys I'll probably be pretty heavy on. Have a ton of Barkley. KENDRICK Bourne is my value play, and a lot of Nick Mullens at quarterback. But let's see if we can finish building out this lineup, how it could look. So we probably need to try and find some value. We got 6-3-3 remaining per position. Let's see if we can find value, if we can find cheap plays. So we know the Giants, if they throw the ball, it's going to be Odell getting the most of the targets. Sterling Shepard will be the number 2 guy to go to. The number 3 guy is probably going to be Evan Ingram at 5K. I think he is probably a good value. Let's see if we plug Evan Ingram in. That would leave us 7K remaining per player. We could probably, I don't think we could play Odell in this lineup. That'd leave us DANTE Pettis, and I don't think DANTE Pettis really going to get a ton of looks in this game. He hasn't really been targeted at all last few games, so probably going to be pretty hard to play Odell and Barkley in the same lineup. But if we went down to George Kittle, that'd leave us 4,600, so then you could play the kicker, Robbie Gould. I could see doing that lineup right there, Mullens and Kittle with KENDRICK Bourne as well. Then you got Barkley, you got Gould, you got the kicker. You could definitely build out a lineup like that. If we're going cheap and we want to find a cheap captain that we could play, maybe a guy that possibly I don't think could be the highest scoring player on the slate, but could definitely provide a lot of value at their price. I think Evan Ingram at 7,500 could definitely be a cheap captain you look to. If you play Evan Ingram at captain, probably allows you to fit in Barkley and Odell. If you go down to KENDRICK Bourne, who I think is going to be a good value at 2K, then you could play Nick Mullens. You could probably play George Kittle. No, you couldn't play George Kittle. You could play Nick Mullens. That'd leave you 6,100. Let's see if we went down to Kittle, what that would allow us to do. If we play Kittle, that leaves us enough to get into Marquise Goodwin. So you could build a lineup like that. You don't have the exposure to any of the quarterbacks, which does scare me a bit. I feel like quarterbacks are kind of a necessity. At least one quarterback, I should say, you probably want to play. So I am a little bit scared about this lineup not having a quarterback, but you got Odell and you got Saquon in this lineup, which obviously is 2 very high ceiling plays. Saquon, though, the guy I definitely want to pay up for if I can. Like KENDRICK Bourne for value. These mid-range plays, I think Goodwin's a good mid-tier play. I'd probably find the salary to get up to Shepard if I could, but Goodwin's definitely an option if you want to go to him. Ingram I like for value. You could always go to the defenses. I think both defenses are in play. This game's probably going to be a low-scoring, ugly game. So the 49ers D at 3,200, the Giants D at 2,600. both in play as cheap defenses. You got the kickers as well. But that's sort of my quick analysis for the showdown slate. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the recap video. Hopefully you enjoyed this showdown slate analysis. If you did enjoy the video, just make sure you click that like button. Would really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. If you do have any questions or you want to leave any comments down below, feel free to do so. You can also hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT if you do have any questions. My DMs are always open. But yeah, guys, good luck tonight on this showdown slate. Hopefully you guys had a good Week 10, and we will see you back again on Tuesday with my Week 11 video. Peace.